The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online, a production of paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. And thanks to our friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. And the show is also later archived on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you can post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not, and where you can subscribe to my Twitter feed, twitter.com/GaryBaumgarten, to get all the latest news that you need to know going on around the world. Lots of things happening. Michael Jackson, well, his death and the surrounding issues in the news. 5 kids shot outside Cody High School in Detroit, my old stomping grounds. An Airbus crashing into the Indian Ocean. I have so much on the feed today, it's unbelievable. If there's issues that you want to talk to, in addition to the big 3 that I have chosen for today, you may. The big 3 are Iraq, this day of celebration as the U.S. troops withdraw from the larger cities in Iraq. And we had the President of the United States, Barack Obama, live right here on News Talk Online on paltalk.com. We carried his remarks about that earlier today, and I will recap them for you in a few minutes. Honduras, some very interesting developments. The deposed by the military president of Honduras today went to the United Nations, not in his pajamas. He was taken out of the country at night with only the pajamas on his back and on his butt to wear when the military overthrew the government. And there was a unanimous vote by the General Assembly to support him in his efforts to regain control of his nation. He is now, we are told, headed back to Honduras to do just that with representatives of the Organization of American States, the European Union, and the United Nations with him. So there's a showdown brewing in Honduras and in Iran. And I have promised myself and the people of Iran, both living there and the expats, that I will not let this story die, even though many in the traditional media are no longer carrying it. I want to announce to you that the Israel Project has started a campaign asking people to send emails to their newspapers and elected officials to pay attention to Iran. And I would agree with that. That is something that we all should be doing. Also in Iran, very interesting thing happening. There are no protesters, or relatively few protesters on the street. So they don't have anybody to attack. But they need to attack somebody. I mean, heck, they put on these helmets, they're riding their motorcycles, and they've got these batons. They've got to attack. They've got to hit, well, they got to use those batons. They got to get the aggression out. Well, look at this video. Look what the security forces in Iran are doing now, since there are no protesters, relatively speaking, in the street with elbows and kneecaps to break. Boaz, play this video, please. Now watch this. This is the best part. Watch this, guys. Watch very closely. There's one. Go get it. Go get it, guys. Come on. Kill it! Kill that motorcycle! Unbelievable, huh? If any of those were Harleys, then it would be an international incident. The United States would have to send support to help the American motorcycles out. We'd have no choice. Now we'd be in it. But apparently they weren't Harleys. Hey, also in Iran, on a more serious note, there is a Canadian-Iranian journalist filmmaker who was arrested. And he confessed, I say that in quotation marks, that the reporters there are spies. And he confessed to biased reporting. Can you imagine, Boaz, if reporters were imprisoned in the United States for biased reporting? I don't think we'd have any reporters out there.
Well, you know what, Gary? Give it some time. Give it some time.
Well, you know, they're trying to enact this so-called fairness doctrine to shut up the conservative talk show hosts, basically. I remember when the fairness doctrine was first enacted, it was to shut up the liberal talk show hosts, and it was the Republicans behind it. Now it's the Democrats behind it to shut up Rush Limbaugh and Michael Savage and Sean Hannity and their ilk. I'm opposed to it now. I was opposed to it back then. You're right. It could happen. President today at the White House at a ceremony to honor some young people made comments about Iraq, where I'm on to Iraq now for a second. He said the future of Iraq lies with those who build, not with those who destroy. He said that he credits the U.S. Armed Forces for bringing Iraq to this point. He expects more sectarian bombings. He says the violence in Iraq will continue, but America will be a strong partner in Iraq's quest for security, whatever that means. But he stressed that Iraq's future is in the hands of its own leadership. Oh, and I've got breaking news from Minnesota. We finally have a declared winner of the U.S. Senate race there. The election was held in November. The Minnesota Supreme Court announced today, or ruled today, that Al Franken, the comedian and talk show host, will be seated as the junior senator from the great state of Minnesota. Took them long enough to resolve that, didn't it? I don't recall an election that took so long to resolve ever in the history of the United States. And you know, if the Guardian Council of Iran was in charge, it would have been resolved before the ballots were even counted. But you know, they got it down to a science, and we can learn from these people in Iran how to count ballots. I understand they're going to send the Election Commission of Minnesota to Tehran for training. Okay, so the big three issues are Honduras, Iran, and Iraq. But if you want to talk about other issues